All right, so you want the rundown on the Honor View 20 smartphone. Buckle up, because we're going to dive deep into all the tech specs and cool features that make this phone stand out.
We're actually going back in time to 2019 for this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this review from rechargemytopeup.com is going to be our guide, and they're all about those practical features. So we'll see if the View 20 lives up to the hype even all these years later.
All right, love it. So the big question is, can this phone deliver flagship performance without the flagship price tag? Let's start with the design Recharge. Recharge My Topeup calls it stunning, and I gotta admit, this isn't your typical boring phone design. It's got this glass back with the V-shaped pattern that catches the light.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to make the phone look different. Remember when all phones basically look the same from the back?
Yeah, totally.
The View 20 really tried to break the mold, and that 6.4-inch screen with almost no bezels and that punch-hole front camera keeps things sleek and modern.
Okay, but we all know looks aren't everything. Let's talk about the brains of this thing, the Kirin 980 chipset. Break it down for me. What does that actually mean for someone using this phone every day?
Okay, so back in 2019, this was a super powerful chipset. It's like having a mini computer in your pocket. Think smooth multitasking, no lag when you're gaming, and apps that load super fast. Even today, it's still a decent chipset.
Okay, so no more waiting around for things to load. I like that. And I see there are different options for RAM and storage too.
Exactly. You can pick what suits your needs. Imagine 6 or even 8 gigs of RAM. It's like having a super speedy brain for your phone. And with 128 or 256 DUGs of storage, you've got tons of space for all your stuff.
You had me at no lag, honestly.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that 48 megapixel rear camera. That's a lot on megapixels, but I'm sure there's more to it than just a big number.
Absolutely. This is where things get interesting. They used a Sony IMX586 sensor, which is known for its quality, and paired it with an f1.8 aperture. Now that aperture is like the size of the window that lets light into the camera, so the wider the window, the more light it can capture.
Okay, I'm following you.
Which means in low light situations, this phone can still take amazing photos with crazy detail and vibrancy.
No more blurry night shots. I love it. But wait, there's more, right? It's not just one camera back there.
You got our daughter. There's also a secondary 3D TOF camera, and this is where it gets really cool.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
TOF stands for time of flight, and it basically measures how long it takes for light to bounce back from objects.
So it's like a little radar system.
Exactly. It gives the phone depth information. Remember those AR apps that were starting to get popular back then?
Yeah.
This camera was perfect for that.
So you're telling me I could use this phone to like virtually place furniture in my living room before I buy it?
You got it.
That's wild. Okay, speaking of futuristic stuff, let's talk software. The View 20 runs on Android, but it's got this EMUI skin on top of it. Some people love it, some people don't. What's your take?
EMUI, it's a bit like that friend who's super organized, but maybe a little too controlling.
Okay, I know the term.
It has some cool features like gesture navigation, which makes using the phone feel really smooth, and app twin, so you can have 2 WhatsApp or Facebook accounts on the same phone at the same time.
Oh, wow. It's pretty handy.
It also uses AI to help with battery life and performance, but it can feel a bit different from standard Android.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it depends what you're used to. Right now, this review mentions a couple of really interesting features. The first is Link Turbo, which combines Wi-Fi and cellular data for faster internet speeds.
Yeah, that was a pretty innovative feature back then, trying to solve a real problem for users.
And who doesn't want faster internet?
Yeah.
But what really caught my eye was the AI calorie counting.
Now, that one's a bit out there.
Wait, hold on. Does it actually use the camera to analyze your food?
Yeah, it tries to use that 3D TOF camera to estimate the calories in your meals. It's like having a pocket nutritionist.
Wow.
But who knows how accurate it really is. Still, it shows that Honor was trying to be different and think outside the box.
Yeah, appeal to a wider audience. Maybe people who are really into health and fitness.
Yeah.
It's interesting how smartphone makers are always trying to add these extra features to stand out. Some are really useful and some are just, well, interesting. But beyond all the bells and whistles, what's the overall feel of this phone? The review mentions a premium feel, and it comes in those sleek midnight black and sapphire blue colors. How do you think it stacks up against other phones from that time?
I think Honor was definitely going for a premium experience, and the build quality reflects that. Remember, this was a sub-brand of Huawei, and they were known for pushing the boundaries in terms of value.
Okay, now for the part we all dread the downsides. No phone is perfect, so what are we looking at here?
One thing that stands out is there's no IP rating for water resistance.
Oh.
So basically, it's not officially protected against water damage. Maybe not the best phone to take to the beach.
Got it. Any other potential deal breakers we should know about?
Yeah, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, the absence of Google services.
Oh, right.
This is a tough time for Huawei with all those trade restrictions.
So, no Google Play Store, no Gmail, no Google Maps.
Exactly. You'd have to rely on Huawei's App Store, which might not have all the apps you're used to.
Yeah, that could be a deal breaker for some people.
It's a trade-off, for sure. You get this stylish phone with great specs at a potentially lower price, but you might have to change your app habits.
It really makes you think about what's most important in a smartphone.
Totally. Are you tied to that Google ecosystem, or are you open to trying something new? This phone definitely makes you ask those questions.
It's amazing how something like missing apps can make you rethink your whole relationship with your phone. But for people who were okay with that back in 2019, what was the experience actually like? This review raves about the 48-megapixel camera, saying it took stunning photos with excellent color accuracy, dynamic range, and sharpness. That sounds pretty good even for today.
You know, megapixels aren't everything, but it did give you a lot of flexibility. You could crop and zoom into your photos without losing too much detail. And that Sony sensor was known for its quality. Plus, it wasn't just the hardware. The camera app itself had some cool stuff. Night mode for better low-light shots, AI scene recognition to adjust the settings automatically, and even 960p slow-motion video recording.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
Slumber videos are always fun. But let's be real for a sec. What about battery life? Nobody wants a phone that dies in the middle of the day.
Totally. Battery life is super important. This review says that the 4,000 mAh battery easily lasted a full day, even with heavy use. And it had fast charging, so you could go from 0 to 55% in just 30 minutes.
That's pretty impressive. It's funny that AI calorie counting feature keeps coming back to me. It's just such a weird concept. I still don't really get how it works. It uses the 3D TOFA camera to scan your food and tell you how many calories are in it.
It really shows how much Honor was willing to try new things. They were definitely going after health-conscious people, and this was a pretty new idea back then. I don't know how accurate it actually was, but it definitely got people talking.
Yeah, I bet. It makes you wonder what other cool ideas are out there just waiting to be discovered. It seems like smartphone companies are always trying to top each other with these unique features. Some of them stick around and some of them don't.
It's all part of how technology evolves, right?
Yeah.
We get to see what people like and what disappears, and sometimes those gimmicky features lead to more useful things later on.
I see your point. We've talked about the good, the unique, the maybe not so useful, but we haven't really talked about the deal breakers, the things that would make someone say, nope, not for me.
I mean, the lack of water resistance and no Google services.
Right, exactly. Those are big things for a lot of people. No IP rating means you got to be careful around water, and no Google means you're in a whole different app world.
It really comes down to what's important to you. If those features are must-haves, then the Honor View 20 probably isn't the right phone. But if you're okay with giving those up for a stylish design, good performance, and a great camera at a maybe lower price, then it's worth thinking about.
It's interesting how this phone makes you think about what you really want in a smartphone. Are you willing to trade some features for others? Are you okay with leaving the Google world?
It's a good way to figure out your needs and preferences. And it reminds us that there's no perfect phone for everyone. What's great for one person might be terrible for someone else.
So basically, the Honor View 20 is kind of a mixed bag. It has a lot going for it, design, performance, camera, but it also has some drawbacks that you need to know about.
It's like a time capsule from 2019. It shows us the trends and challenges that were happening in the smartphone world back then. It reminds us that technology changes all the time, and what's new today may be old news tomorrow.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, dear listener. If you could ask the people who designed the Honor View 20 one question, what would it be? Would you ask about their design choices, the camera, or maybe why they left out certain features?
Or maybe you'd want to know what they would change if they were designing it today. It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how they think.
We often don't think about it, but there are real people behind these devices making choices that affect our lives.
It makes you realize that technology, it's never really neutral, is it?
Right. It shows us the values and priorities of the people who made it.
And then it changes how we interact with the world,
So as you're thinking about your question for the Honor View, 20 designers think bigger.
What does this phone tell us about how technology changes?
What does it tell us about the choices we make as consumers?
And maybe even more importantly, what does it make you think about?
Does it make you want to ask more questions? To learn more? To even create something new?
I think those are the best things you can take away from a deep dive.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface of the Honor View 20.
But hopefully this gives you a new way of looking at things. Not just this phone.
but technology as a whole and how it affects our lives.
It's been great diving deep with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And keep learning.
There's always something new to discover.